You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
HRN is food radio supported by you. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org. This episode of Pizza Quest is brought to you by Central Milling, hand-selected grain, expertly milled for passionate bakers. Central Milling is the farmer, the miller, and the baker working together to preserve American farmland for tomorrow while providing the highest quality flour and grains for the bakers of today. Dating back over 150 years, Central Milling is built on generations of knowledge, and they know that premium flour starts at the source. Employee-owned, Central Milling works directly with their farmers to sustainably grow grains that have exceptional flavor, nutrient content, color, and baking performance, which results in one of the largest selections of premium specialty flour and grains in the country. Hand-selected for the highest baking qualities, milled, cracked, or blended slowly to minimize heat generation, then bake-tested for performance. Learn more about Central Milling and their products at centralmilling.com. Welcome to Pizza Quest. I'm Peter Reinhardt, and we have a special show today because we're with Joe Carlucci, founder of World Pizza Champions. You're one of the co-founders of that, right? Way back at the beginning, and a lot of catching up to do because when I first sort of started tracking you and your career, Joe, was over 20 years ago when we both appeared in a movie called Pizza the Movie, which was a kind of a fun movie, and it was interesting. And that was before really, I think it was part of what helped kind of launch pizza in this new era of, I don't know, it's a whole new pizza world right now than it was then. Back then, you could feel it verging, and there was a lot of talent emerging. You were one of them. And so that's when I first kind of became aware of you. But we other than the pizza expos, we never really get a chance to talk and connect. So I'm really excited to have you on. But I also want to find out, how you ended up in Alabama. You're a New York, Jersey guy.
Yeah.
And you have a place now in Alabama for the last 4 years or so called Valentina's. So, and if I'm not mistaken, Valentina's your daughter.
Yes, she is.
So tell us about your daughter, first of all, and how she became the the namesake of Valentina's.
Well, she's 11. She's in
In other words, she's running the place then.
pretty much when she's here on the weekend. She's 11. She's been in the restaurant business with me since she was born, in the stroller. And then she started washing dishes, all the places, the food trucks, and everything that I've done since I've been in Alabama and since she's been born. And I failed so many times with Joe's World Famous Joe's Pizza. I said to myself, this time I'm going to go a different route and I'm going to name it after my daughter. And it's been the best thing I've ever done in my life and a blessing because it's been extremely successful the last 3.5 years that we've been open. Our growth.
So she's the good luck charm.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's something I've noticed in talking to a lot of pizza operators who somewhere it seems like a pizza maker's daughter is always a very critical piece of the pie. Either a pie is named after her or the pizzeria is named after her. It seems like it's almost more important than having a son.
Yes.
Interesting. So I'm glad that that's worked out. And let's take a step back then and tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you end up being, an East Coast pizza guy, and how did you even get into pizza, and what brought you to Alabama?
Well, I grew up in Carmel, New York. It's about an hour north of the Bronx in New York City. My family's originally from the Bronx in Long Island. And I grew up in a real small town called Carmel, New York. And my sister was dating a guy that owned a pizzeria. And it was called Redendo's. And my mom worked at the dry cleaners right next door. So she worked there part-time. So when I was like 15, I started washing dishes for them. And they were right off the boat. Like they would take the wrappers off the sauce cans and they wouldn't let you know what the sauce was or what the recipe was. And you just had to like kind of go through the grind of learning. And then I made my way up to the front of the counter, and then delivering. Back then we didn't have Google Maps and stuff. We had it printed out. And we had a flashlight.
Right.
Look to see what the mailbox number was. Hoping the whole number was on the mailbox.
Right. Hoping there was no dog.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I know I delivered for Mama's Pizzeria outside of Philadelphia. And it's always an adventure every stop.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I got my first taste of the pizza world. And we worked together for years. I left, went to college. I came back. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I wasn't that book smart type of kid. You know what I mean? I was kind of lost back then. Like, so I didn't really know I was going to want to do pizza, but I always knew like whatever I want to do, I want to be the best at. I want to learn it. It's going to be my passion. And I want to get up and love what I do. And, 9 out of 10 people get up in the morning and go, oh, it's Monday.
Yeah.
I'm closed Mondays, but I'm that guy that, I live for the day. I love what I do. I breathe what I do. And through the journey of being young and kind of not knowing the pizza industry, we had a couple places together that didn't work out. And in 2000, I saw this for a competition, how to, make the U.S. pizza team. And I was like, what's this? And I always wondered, how do you compete with Papa John's, Little Caesars, Domino's? How do you don't have the money, you don't have the marketability. So I was like,
right.
Imagine I made this team. Imagine the press I would get.
Yeah.
So I drove up to Columbus, Ohio in 2000 in U.S. pizza team trials. And I competed against Michael Shepard and a couple other guys. And Tony Gemignani was there, and he was my judge. And has this big smile, this California dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He was already, even as a young age, was already kind of the guy.
Yes. Oh, yeah. He's been to Italy. He's already won. He can't go anymore. And I'll never forget, I was doing largest stretch, and I was throwing it up, and Tony looks at it and looks at me and goes, put it down. You won. I look at him like this New York guy, and I'm like, I got it. And I threw it up one more time, and the whole thing just ripped. And he goes, oh, Jim. And he tells me about it.
He became your Obi-Wan Kenobi at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And then I went back to the Javits Center 6 months later and competed and met Siler Chapman, who's now one of my best friends and team members, co-founder member of the World Pizza Champions. And we both tied in acrobatics, and we all went to Italy together.
Wow. So so acrobatic dough tossing was kind of your gateway in before you were competing with the pies themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems like in those early days, it was a lot about, longest, widest stretch or the dough tossing and all the other things, the theatrics, more than it was about the pizzas themselves. But as I'm sure as what happened with so many other champions in those categories, you wanted to get known for your pizzas and not just for your dough skills. So now you're winning for best pies.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those who haven't been following all this and don't know who you are. So last year you were named Pizza Maker of the Year at Pizza Expo. You won first place in a couple of different categories. And of course, this is now 20 plus years after you first started. Suddenly you're sweeping the awards and making the cover of Pizza Today magazine and everything else. So a long and exciting journey along the way.
Oh, it's been a long journey, ups and downs, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But I've competing in baking for 25 plus years. That's how long it's taken. I'm just blessed by God to be like, okay, I don't have to do it anymore. I can't do it anymore.
Well, some of the guys that you mentioned that you met way back then, like Michael Shepard and even Siler, who's still a young guy. Siler lives down the road from me, and I still think of him as kind of like the kid, Yeah. But he was competing like from the time he was 20 years old, but a lot of these folks, have become major players, and they're all champions. The World Pizza Champions team that you help kind of organize and be part of is up to 200 plus members.
Yeah, I can't even count how we induct 5 every year, and it's been growing and evolving, and we have some great business, marketing, pizza bakers, artisans from all over the world, not just here in the U.S.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit because, I always, when I first heard of the Champions team, it was the team. It was like 8, 10, 12 people. That was the World Pizza Champions. And now it seems like everybody wants to be on the team. And did I hear you just say that you only add 5 new members a year?
Yeah.
So people have to actually compete to make the team then.
No, they submit like a
Submit.
resume, and then we do a review process because it's not just about how great of a pizza maker you are. You know, it has to go beyond that. It has to look like your character, you know, your whole body of work. Obviously, we want great pizza makers, people that are passionate about it, but you know, humanity, your individual, what you do for your community. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a wide range of what we're looking for in a world pizza champion.
So yeah,
And
because World
how,
Pizza Champions are ambassadors now for the craft and
yeah,
for the whole industry, for the pizza industry.
100%. And you know, it's crazy because to be honest with you, Tony is kind of like Back to the Future. Tony already visioned this 20 years ago. Okay, listen, we're on a plane going to Italy to compete, and he's talking about this stuff. Well, we're with the U.S. pizza team, but he's talking about his pizza school he's going to have and how it's going to happen. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, now he's like so far ahead.
Yeah.
Go to Italy. We don't win. We come back. We're in West Virginia. The four of us, Michael, Seiler, me, and Tony, and we're in a hotel room. And Tony says, we're going to make our own team. And we're going to be called the World Peace Champions. And I love Tony. Like, if it wasn't for Tony, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I owe him I'm indebted to him for life. And he said, you guys will be the pioneers. He's like, Joe, you're good, but you're never going to be great pizza thrower. Sally, you guys are good, but there's guys that are going to go up and come. But he goes, hey, we're going to start this team, and we will be the four founding members with Ken Bryant, who's the fifth, and Sean Browser came on right after. And he says, you won't have to throw anymore. You won't have to do that. He's like, just trust me. And he saw the vision of where the team is today 20 years ago. That's how deep. What Tony's forgotten in the pizza world, I will never know. Like, that's
Yeah.
how deep he is. And he saw this 20 years ago, 20
Yeah,
plus years.
very visionary. It's interesting because I'm hearing this now for the first time. I've heard Tony talk a little bit about it, when he's been on Pizza Schools. But you gave us some details that I didn't even know about. This idea that first of all, you were kind of like independent competitors and teamed up to go over and represent the United States. Then formed your own team, and that team has now become more than just a team of competitors. It's become an ambassadorship, almost like a guild almost of pizza leaders.
And before social media was even around, Tony, Seiler, Mike, and me, and Ken at times when he could, we were all over the world. We were in Dominican Republic, we were in Germany, West Virginia, Virginia Beach. We would get calls to do festivals and shows, and we were like a boy band. The four of us would go.
Yeah.
Tony would make sure we got paid airfare and hotel, and we went all over the place. Before, you know, TikTok, if they had all that stuff back then, forget about it. But we were traveling like 4 to 5 times a year, all over the place because of Tony. You know, and it's unbelievable where
And
he's taken me.
and so now kind of fast forward slowly through the next 20 years or so, you were still back based in New York at that point, or Jersey?
Yeah, I was in New York. I had I think it was I had a place I think when I met Tony in 2000, I had a restaurant. Fresh off I had a pretty bad breakup with my family as far as the business. I don't give any advice. Don't go into business with family. It's hard. But my brother-in-laws and his brothers, we had a falling out, and I opened a place in 2000. And I talked to Big Dave about it and Tony. And, you know, it failed. It failed in 2 years. It was my own fault. I wasn't ready. I didn't know the whole business. And, you know, I remember calling Big Dave, and he's like, you'll be fine. And I talked to Tony, and he was like, don't worry about it. He's like, this happens. You're going to recover. So I kind of went through a really bad, rough time back then. I was still young, and I was still doing the World Pizza Champions. And I met a guy by the name of Bruno DeFabio in Jacob Javits Center. And you have to remember, when we go to these shows back then, we were just on the Food Network. Okay, no one's ever been on the Food Network. So Tony gets us on the Food Network. So we walk in like we're Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
So Bruno's from Connecticut. I'm from New York. You know, we're close by. Long story short, he's like, hey, we got to get together. we get together and we open a place called Famous Joe's, little corner spot where nightclubs are. And Bruno puts all the money in, and I'm the workhorse. And
Is this in Manhattan, Famous Joe's?
no, this is outside. We didn't do anything in Manhattan. This is in
Okay.
Danbury, Connecticut. And Tony was like,
Okay.
be careful, man. People are going to come after you. People are going to use your name. And I'm like, oh, I'm nobody. He's like, no, you're somebody in the pizza world. Trust me. And that didn't work out. You know, it went south, and it was a really bad one. And through that, I was always in community. I was very close to Big Dave Ostrander. And he would be like, hey, I'm going to Kentucky. I'm going to, New Orleans. I have to do these openings, and they don't know New York style. Would you want to come and help me? And I was like, yeah, I get to hang out with you, learn from you, and I could teach them New York style. Because that's, I'm from New York, and that's what I grew up doing.
Yeah.
So we were in Louisville, Kentucky, somewhere in Kentucky, and Joe Moore from Tutora's in Huntsville, Alabama was there. He had already reached out to Tony and Big Dave, and Big Dave was like, well, if you want to come see what I do, why don't you drive over, which is only about 5 hours. So Joe drives over, and me, him, and Big Dave just go nuts for 2 days. And Joe says to me, would you come with Big Dave to Alabama? And I was like, yeah, no problem. So this is like in 2005. Well, it took him like 3 or 4 years to get that place, for whatever reason, right? So in the meantime, I was working with Bruno through that old store and just working other pizzerias in the New York metropolitan area. And Big Dave, as you know, he ended up getting sick.
Yeah, Dave. And for those who don't know, who are not in the pizza community, like we've been, a lot of these names are very well known when you all gather, but not everybody knows that Dave was really one of the leading mentors to so many great pizza makers. And then he passed away, didn't he, recently? Yeah.
Yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm still with Bruno, and I'm doing this consulting. I come down here, and Big Dave gets sick, so it's me and Tony. That's it. And you want to talk about my cousin Vinny, me, Tony from California, me from New York, and I walk into and they're like, what the hell did we just hire, You
just needed Fred Gwynn to walk in the door,
So Tony's in the back teaching them how to cook, and I'm on the front line being my New York loud way. And he comes up to me, he's like, what are you doing? You got here. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, can't yell. I said, I'm not yelling. He goes, you can't do that here. This is the South. He said, you can't scream at these kids. They're going to walk out. We're consulting. So lo and behold, I ended up staying 2 weeks. Tony left after 5 days. And
he wanted to get out before it all came crashing.
He got out real fast. Yeah. And they would fly me back from Vegas because Joe Moore, who's one of the best business people in this industry, he would be like, I can't boil water. I can't, can you help me do this? So I got very close to the family because I stayed with them for 2 weeks. So his brother-in-law and I kept in touch, his sister, and they're like, yeah, we need you back here, help run the front of the store. So as I was transitioning out of the whole thing with Bruno, one of the distributors down here said, man, you should get into consulting down here. There's a lot of people that need help. So I said, all right. So the Bruno thing just went south, and I kind of ended that. And literally on a Saturday night, I went to see my family at my sister's house. And they said, oh, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, oh, I'm moving to Alabama. And they're like, well, I said, yeah, my car's packed. They're like, when are you leaving? I'm like, tomorrow morning. They're like, yeah, right. And they're like, what, Alabama? What,
Did they ask you, do you even know what a grit is?
Yes. And cornhole, corn pictures everywhere you go.
Yeah. That's so was there a little culture shock with all that?
There wasn't a little, there was a lot. People saw me coming down, like, who is this guy? Where are you from? And I'd be like, I'm from my mother. What's wrong? I talk fast, I talk loud. And I drove down thinking I can get into the consultant business down here. And it just was harder than I thought. So I ended up working for Joe Moore as his general manager.
Oh.
And quickly helped them elevate their game and skill. And Joe and I were perfect together. We're like peanut butter and jelly. Like Joe was the back of the house. He wanted me to be the face. I was, teaching people, bringing things in, ideas that I, had from growing up in New York. And he loved everything. His family's from New York. So we clicked really well. And it's different down here. It's definitely not New York or California. It's a little slower paced, but
Yeah.
I appreciate it the older I get. And,
So you've been in Alabama ever since, for nearly 20 years now then.
15 to
15.
2009.
And of course, Alabama has its own wonderful food culture. Between the barbecue, and Birmingham is one of the best food cities in the country, and so you're kind of helping to build something down there, or being part of what's being built down there in terms of food community.
Sure.
So let me go back again. So you mentioned up in New York, you had a number of crash and burn situations. Can you talk a little bit about what were some of the takeaway lessons that you learned from your failures?
I don't know if you have enough time for that.
But that's where all the learning happens, right?
Yeah. Ignorance, arrogance, too prideful, cocky, arrogant. You think you know everything. You think because from New York, you know everything. You think you eat pizza every day, or you were born in New York, you know pizza. Just not evolving as a person or an individual. And to be honest with you, when I came down here, it was the same way for a long time. But pizzeria guys, my philosophy now, if we get into it, is 180 from what anybody thinks or does. I can tell you, I can guarantee you that the way I talk to my employees, the way I treat them,
Yeah.
the way my mindset is. And to be honest, it's been the most successful I've ever been because I feel that approach. But back then, I wasn't that approach. I thought I knew everything. I thought I was the best. I'd go to the shows. You go to this pizza show where 4, 5, 6, 7,000 people go, and they all think you're great because they've seen you on a magazine or on the Food Network. But I learned a lot about people and what they say. And my whole theory is, and what I say is, actions speak louder than words. And anything you could tell me everything. It doesn't mean anything. It's how you do it, how your character. And, back then I was a little, I don't want to use the word naive, but like, oh, you have 5 stores, you must know what you're doing. Just because someone has 5 stores, you don't know how they're running. They might be robbing Peter to pay Paul in all 5.
Right.
You don't know until you get into it. And when I was in New York, I was in a lot of situations. My brother-in-laws, they never taught me books back then. We did QuickBooks. Everything was with a ledger. Everything was cash. I didn't know 1 + 1. We didn't use cash. We used basic cash registers, no cash, no checks. I mean, no credit cards, excuse me. It was just cash only, So we opened, if you really backtrack, we opened another location together, and I was in charge of it. And they had borrowed money from, the men in suits, as I like to call them.
Yeah, right.
Went south, and I had a lot of men in suits coming to my house and my restaurants at times, and it divided my whole family and my mother, my sister, for many years. So it wasn't until really that I got to meet Tony, and even in the beginning of meeting Tony, I was still that arrogance, but there was something about him. He doesn't give up on people. He's an encyclopedia. He's the most giving person. I always tell him, like, you give too much because you always get burned too from people, because he's been a lot of people. I just learned, like, to be grounded more, be appreciated for the knowledge that people want to share with you, and don't think you know everything, because you're learning every day.
When you got a chance to travel with the team members too, as you were building the team and getting to know them, that must be special in a way. I mean, it's kind of like having a band of brothers that you can hang out. Do you find that did you find that in hanging out with those guys, that a lot of the life lessons that you needed were provided by you guys all sharing war stories?
Yeah, except they always bunked me with Siler.
Yeah, it was.
We shared the same room together they always put us together because we were the youngest. But Michael Shepard's very sharp businessman, great pizza guy. And I think years and years and years of talking to him, like, paid off, and listening to him and seeing how he ran his businesses and how he worked with his employees and so forth. Same with Siler and his spots, and, of course, Tony.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a rare opportunity, a rare experience. And you're creating now with the growing World Pizza Team, Champions team, that this opportunity for other people to enter into that kind of fellowship with each other. And I can see why it's becoming something more than what it started out as.
Well, you can't put a price tag on having 50 to 100 plus people pick up the phone and call them for advice. And any one of them will have, if not every one, but some of them will have that situation that has happened to them. So you can always get guidance and advice. Mike Bosch, Nick Bogas, Derek Sanchez, Laura Meyer. Like, there's so many people that you can call, Nicole Beam at any time.
These are like the who's who right now of the American pizza scene.
Yeah, and they can guide you or say, hey, I went through this. This is what you need to do, or this is what I did. You can't put a price tag on that. That benefit is priceless.
Well, as long as we're talking about this, and I think some of the people who are listening might be on the outside looking in saying, how can I get a piece of that? How can I be part of what you're doing? How would one proceed if they want to become part of the world
Pizza champion?
Yeah, pizza
They
champion.
would have to fill out like an application and send the
Is there a website that they would go to?
worldpizzachampions.com, I believe.
Or just Google it, yeah.
Yeah,
but
and then
you get to a site, and then there's a form that they would fill out.
I'm not 100% if there's a form yet. We don't start till next December, but each member could recommend somebody. Like so if you know someone on the team, maybe you reach out to them. And Niles Peacock, do you know him? He's up. Okay, he's a mixologist, a level 2 sommelier, and a artisan pizza guy in Seattle. And
wow.
He came here for a week about 6 months ago and did my whole bar program.
Nice.
I didn't even lift a finger. And I got to break bread with him. He stayed with me, and I got to know him as an individual, as a person, his character, and I nominated him, because of what I know about him. So you can get with a team member, if you know them kind of, and reach out to them, start talking to them and let them get a feel for you, and they can nominate you to be on the team. That doesn't guarantee you're going to get on.
Right.
But it's a way for you to try to get on and move forward.
Well, boy, a guy like Niles brings something else new to the group than with all his mixology skills and things like that.
Yes, and the energy that he brings, I've never seen it. The positive energy, the way he turns a resistance from a customer or employee around, remarkable. He absolutely remarkable. The energy that he brought to my pizzeria for a week, the positive energy, the smiles, like it was just you didn't want to leave. Like
wow.
The kids loved them.
Interesting. Now I feel like I got to track Niles down because
you have to talk to him, because let me tell you something. He goes, you think I'm ADHD? Wait till you talk to him. But I'm telling you right now, his character is, he worked with my general manager 3 months prior to us moving into the new building, saying what kind of martini glasses, what kind of bourbon glasses, what kind of bourbon to get, where's your ABC store? Let me see what they have, the wine, what kind of pizzas you can have so I can pair it. He is a human dictionary. He's like Tony when it comes to mixology. He's exactly.
And he's got pizza skills as well, which is pretty amazing.
Yes, he does. He won an award last year at the Galbani competition.
Does he have his own place in Seattle, or is he part of a restaurant group up there?
He has a place in Seattle.
Okay. Do you happen to know the name of it? I'm going to track him down.
Niall Peacock's, I think it's with his name.
His name's on it. So those of you who are listening from the Northwest, you probably know more about it than I do, but sounds like worth knowing about. But that's a perfect example. What you just described, that scenario, is a perfect example of what you've created. The network just keeps getting larger and larger and brings in more skill sets and more talent that then informs everybody else. It's like the perfect situation. It's like the club that everybody wants to be a part of.
Yeah, it is. It's growing. It is, and it's hard because you don't want to say no, but you have to cap it off, and you have to find those people that connect.
And not everybody can get in it, but and by having a limit of only 5 a year, it kind of adds another level of specialness to it, because to get in now, you got to fight your way in.
Yeah, well, it's getting more popular. Social media. Mike Bosch, who was president for 2 years, did an amazing job. That guy is like a business encyclopedia in Oklahoma. He's just amazing what he's done. And now Nick Bogas, has taken over, and He's a mastermind of Pennsylvania, but his
And
place
both
is.
of those names that you just mentioned, Nick and Mike, are frequent speakers at Pizza Expo and all the pizza shows. They again, one of the recurring themes and everything you're telling me here is that these are people who are all about give back. It's not about just focusing on your own thing, but giving
I
back to the community.
call Mike or Nick anytime. I mean, they're so humble and they're so grounded. They're always looking to help. They're all about the team. I mean, that's what's made this team so special. You know,
Yeah.
we all go through those good days, bad days, Friday night, this. But the difference from us to everybody else is, and they might have it too, but we can pick up that phone and I can call Mike and he can figure out what I did wrong, what we did wrong, and maybe give me some ideas and tips. And same for Nick. And you can't put it, like I said, you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah,
And
no, it
for them
is.
to go up there and share their knowledge every year at the industry to help others, it just speaks volumes of both of those guys.
Well, didn't you guys just come out with a book too? The World Pizza Champions just published a book, didn't you, of recipes from, pardon me?
It's called The Pursuit of Pizza.
The Pursuit of Pizza, right. And it just came out right the week of the Pizza Expo a couple of weeks ago. I saw it for the first time. Do you have a recipe in there?
I do. I have the 2022 traditional Best in the World. It's called the award winner.
When you say best in the world, you won there or in Italy with that one?
No. So in 2022 in Vegas, I won 2022 Best Traditional, 2023 Best Non-Traditional Pizza Maker of the Year, 2024 Best of the Best. So the last 3 years, I've won every one, and now I can't compete anymore.
You reached the point where there's nothing left to prove.
Right. But
so that means that now the next round is you have to be the judge of the next generation.
Well, I have my general manager competed, and she placed first in the Southeast and sixth out of 105 people. She was 0.33 away from making the finals. So we're going to bring a Valentina's team next year to start competing in the bacon since I can't now.
Well, that's it. You now have to be the mentor for the next group. Did you get to go then with the team over to Italy and compete in the World Championships over there?
I didn't go. It was just too much from Vegas.
Yeah. No, I don't mean this time. I mean, have you ever gone over with the team?
Oh, I used to go all the time.
Yeah.
Tony, Mike's, yeah, we used to go for years. I went like 12, 13 years.
How different is it competing over there against Italians and people from other parts of the world who also consider themselves to be the owners of the pizza label?
They don't like Americans. We're not Italian. Americans are not Italian. Okay. They look down upon you. I mean, Tony's changed all this through the years of winning in Naples.
Yeah.
It's hard to get their respect, but they have like 300 or 400 competitors. There's no prize money.
They just do it for the bragging rights.
Yeah. It's a different, I haven't been to Parma, but there was Salsa Maggiore back in the day. It was in like an old soccer stadium. And we were kind of looked at as like the outcast. Now it's evolved more. Americans are winning over there. I mean, they come over here in Vegas and they were winning, so now that I'm winning and our team is winning more, we finally earned their respect.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, they're pizza tossers. They don't know how to bake pizza. They're not real artisans.
Yeah.
It's evolved now where we are bringing artisan pizza all over the U.S.
Interesting. Yeah, it's very similar parallels that happen in the wine industry and the cheese world, where the American wines and the American cheesemakers have been winning now on the world stage as well. But you have to fight for that respect. You have to earn it. They're not just going to give it.
You do. And I'll never forget my first competition. I think I came in like 300th. I'm like, what am I doing?
Wow.
Yeah. And then I came in like 100th. Then I came 80. Then I came 50th. Then I came 140. I mean, it's all over the board. And it's hard. Like you're doing this competition and you lose and you think you suck and you're like, what am I doing? And Tony's like, you can't measure your success on one competition if you come in last. And if you win, it's great too. It's going to take time. You have to learn, you have to understand. Yeah. And I think to really understand that, you have to go through the highs and lows and respect everybody, because it's a camaraderie too. Like when you're competing, because as much as you want to win, you want your teammate to win. At least I do.
Certainly, it sounds like one of the recurring lessons for you has been, the lesson of humility. and you went from what you described as self-described as an arrogant sort of guy to being realizing that you learn more from losing sometimes than you do from winning.
You learn a lot more from losing, a lot more.
Yeah.
You learn a lot more from failing. I think you need to fail to succeed. I think that is so true.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, then I know some of the folks who are listening probably want me to get you to describe a little bit about the pies you won with, both the traditional and the non-traditional. So what defines a traditional pizza in that category, and then what defines the non-traditional?
Traditional is only 2 toppings. That's all you can put on it.
You mean besides sauce and cheese?
That's it. Sauce, cheese, and 2 toppings.
Two toppings.
I did a raw bulk sausage and pepperdew peppers.
And then what do you think was the difference maker between you and all the other great pizzas that were entered in that category that elevated yours to win? What did the judges see in yours that got you the first prize?
Oh, it was my dough.
Starts with the dough.
Mm-hmm.
And well, then again, what can you tell us without having to kill us? What can you tell us about what makes your dough work and so special?
I went down to Texas for 4 days, and I spent some time with Derek Sanchez.
Derek's been on Pizza Quest, yeah.
I talked to Tony, and Derek's a big science guy, and he's a doctor.
He's a doctor, yeah.
And I rented my own hotel room every year that I've won. I'll tell you that. And my dough stays in its own room by itself.
Oh, that's right. I read that you actually got a room for your dough at the hotel.
It's a science and it's a philosophy, and it's worked. I mean, from 4 years ago, I placed 5th in traditional with the same pizza. The following year, I won with. And I stuck to the process, and I've got it down to a science. Like when going to Derek's for 4 days, and he helped me with it. And it's the dough. The dough has put me over the top every year.
Are there things that you're free to share with listeners about either things that have to do with the type of flour or the method of fermentation that you're using? Or
I use a non-bleached, non-bromated. This year I used Caputo.
Okay. And so did that make a difference? Do you think you switching to that flour, or do you think that you could have won it with other quality flours?
I've won without it in the past, but I will tell you it was the best pizza I've ever made. And I've talked to some of the judges, and it was one of the best pizzas they ever had. And I contribute that to the Caputo flour.
Was it the blue bag, or was it one of the
Americano?
Oh, the Americano. Okay. So Caputo has a number of different flours for people who are listening. So Americano, that's a newer flour that they developed over the last few years.
Yeah, and Orlando Foods came out here, had Mimo, one of the head chefs. I call him Mimo.
Yes. Yeah, I remember Mimo, yeah.
And just taught me their style with the flour, and incorporated that with my recipe. And this year I was in the best of the best, and I beat the Italians. I beat 2 guys from Italy that lived there and grew up there. And actually, one of the guys that I beat me for Pizza Maker of the Year the first year I won traditional. So the year I won traditional, I went up for Pizza Maker of the Year, and I didn't win. I came in second. And that guy was in the best of the best this year, and I beat him.
Yeah. So you're still, again, I'm just looking for takeaways. And one is says you're still learning after 25 years of doing this. You're still learning and getting better.
Every day, every week, every minute. You could learn. Like I always say, like Tony, like I'll never know what he forgot. And like I said at the show, and I've said before, I'm not the best pizza maker in the world. That day, that minute, that second, that hour, I know how to compete. But I know in my heart, and I know in my head, and I'm very good, and I'm okay with it, that there are a million people out there that make pizza better than me. Mm-hmm. But I also know that I can learn and evolve and try to be better every day. But I know in my heart that there's a million people that can make a pizza better than me. And that the last 3 years, I know how to execute. I'm great under pressure. I'm great in competition. But in no way do I think leaving there or being in this store that I'm the best in the world. That's just not how I think. It's not my process.
That's good. But that sounds again like a hard learned lesson for you, is to get to that place of humility because 25 years ago you would have walked in the room and said, "I am the best guy in the room, and I'm the best pizza
Right.
maker in the world, and I'm
Yeah,
going to
you're right on that one.
show."
That's a good one.
So then the non-traditional, what was that?
Okay, let me remember because it was lobster, crab meat,
Ooh,
apple chutney, with a Italian parsley, and there was one some kind of spread. I can't remember. I have to ask Cameron, but it was complex.
so really, it's totally out of the box pizza. That's
Yeah,
not. Yeah, when you
I
say
talked,
non-traditional,
I talked to Carmine Testa right before Vegas, and he said it, and I said it. I said, I'm either going to hit first or I'm coming in dead last.
yeah,
He said the same thing to me. He goes, you're going to either win it or you're going to come in last because that is such, when you do seafood,
yeah.
it's hard. But I also knew that if I hit all the points with the ingredients and flavors and then my dough, that I would win.
And and both in the traditional and non-traditional, those pizzas were baked in a deck oven, not in a wood-fired oven, right, or a brick oven like that.
Yep, deck
Okay,
oven.
so these are deca. So these are not Neapolitan. It's not the Neapolitan category. It's the traditional category, which is different. Again, just for clarifying.
So there's pan, like Sicilian, Detroit. There's non-traditional, which anything goes. There's traditional, which is sauce, cheese, two toppings, and then there's Neapolitan.
I see.
So I told my staff, and that came with me last year, not this past year. I said, it's impossible for me to win again. Let's just win the Southeast region. That would be cool. It's like no one's ever done that before. So when I won, they were looking at me. I actually told them I'd take him to Disney if I won. So I still owe them that trip.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, two of the girls. But
forget.
But a part of me didn't want to win Pizza Maker of the Year because I wanted to see if I can win every division. And then another part of me said, listen, you got some talent, not a lot of talent, and you got a hell of a lot of luck. Let's just get out of here with the Pizza Maker of the Year. Call it a day. Okay. We continue to wish.
Take the win.
Yeah, get the win and get out, because you don't know what's going to happen in these competitions. You're going against 90 plus people, sometimes over 100.
Well, and everyone has talent, and I mean, I've competed in barbecue competitions, in chili competitions, in pizza competitions, bread competitions, and there's different winners all the time, even though they're the same competitors, because on any given day, somebody puts it all together.
Exactly, I couldn't agree more. So I ran out of there with those two awards, and then this year I didn't think I had a shot just because I don't see myself on that level. But I had another mentor of mine. She spoke to me before and said, if you win with grace, lose with grace, and gave me a couple more pointers. But it was great to pull it off 3 years in a row. So now I'm done. I could be a mentor. I could be a judge. I could do whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's sort of the legacy phase now. It's the time to leave behind a whole group of mentees who continue the winning tradition. Let me get you out, on this because we've led up to Valentina's, your new restaurant there, with your daughter. Your 11-year-old daughter is even working there now, right? So, and she has a lot to live up to, but her name's on the thing, so that means she's running the show.
Oh yeah.
For those who get a chance to get your way, what's the menu like? What are the pizzas and the style that you're doing? It sounds like you got a full bar there now.
We have a full bar. We do New York, Detroit, Sicilian, cauliflower, and tavern. We're like Chick-fil-A pizza. We do not do any pastas. We do house scratch-made meatballs, salads, bruschetta, fried goat cheese balls, and some desserts. That's it. That's the whole menu. And we do calzones. That's it.
And you're in a new location. It's not the original location, right? Then you move. Right. So how big of a place do you have?
Right now, I think with the patio, it's 5,000. It's 4,000 without it, I believe.
But how many seats, basically?
150, 160.
And
so just to put in your head, I was in the first spot I was in for 3 years was my commissary for my food truck. And I had COVID was like the best year of my life because I went from lunch and dinner to every subdivision in North Alabama for 2 hours, 11 to 1, 4 to 6, 5 to 7, when we had the shutdown.
Yeah.
Okay. I did that for 3 months, 2.5, and I saved $55,000 cash by plus paying my bills. I took all that money and I cashed it in. I opened the old store, which was 1,500 square feet with a negative bank account, negative, with my personal. Like if it didn't work, I was going to work at Walmart. I was done. I'm like, this is it. I failed enough. If this doesn't work, I'm not doing it. And I did all the pizzas for 3.5 years, like every pizza that was made. And not because I don't want people to make it, because they can't make it as good as me, but because I have to keep my costs down. I ran 12% labor. I ran a 33% profit.
Wow.
And I saved every single dime, and I would win. And this is where the whole thing changed for me on this one. And I don't know if it's the name or just, hey man, you're 40-something years old. You can't keep failing in this. I don't know what it was, but I changed my philosophy on everything that I was doing, from empowering my staff to being in there and watching my numbers more. And I hired a manager, which I didn't think I would need. And he stayed for a year, and a girl came in and she was interning. She was just passing the bar to be a lawyer. And she wanted to work. I said, okay. So she ended up becoming a lawyer and still working for me just because she did family law, I think it was. And 2 years into it, my other manager leaves, or a year into it, and then she kind of starts getting into that role. And she didn't like family law because she would go to court and she would see the divide and what happens to kids. So she was just like, she quit. And I'm like, wow, you just went to law school and quit? She's like, it's just not for me. I'm like, well, I need some help. She's like, well, what do you need help with? I'm like, well, I'm building a store and I can't put Legos together. So she starts helping me and becomes the GC of the store. Wow. Literally. And deals with all the contractors and deals with everything. And I was like, okay, this girl's a lot more polished and smarter than I'll ever be. And she basically helped me get this place off the ground. And then the last 2 years, she's come to Vegas and seen what I wanted. She actually gets it when she goes. And not that people say, oh, can I get a picture with Joe? But she sees the bigger picture. So, I said to her, I said, I want this place to be different. So I want people to feel empowered. I want to have the lowest turnover ratio. I want people to want to be here, but we need to, I blame a lot of pizzeria guys and restaurant guys I don't think there's bad employees, and I don't think there's bad kids. I think there's horrible management and bad owners. I don't, if you give the kids or the servers or the employees the tools, how do you want them to succeed? Yes, it costs more money. But, hogs get slaughtered, pigs get killed. So let's give them the tools. Let's tell them about Detroit. Let's tell them about Sicilian. Let's tell them why our tavern is. Let's make 50 of them and have them come in and taste it and understand the difference of a Sicilian compared to Detroit or, a New York style.
Yeah.
I got the Chick-fil-A model. And she was on board with it. She liked it. And I said, I'm going to give you the keys to the car. You're going to drive it. And I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And it's worked. The first year she was in, we went 40% in growth. And we're up to 45 employees from going to 6 employees. Our break room consists of a slushy machine, espresso machine, 50-inch TV, couches. We go to Costco once a month for $700 or whatever it costs for food, where everybody can go back anytime and eat before or after. And I just believe that if you empower the right people and you believe in them and show them that it's not about me, then it might not work, but for me, it's worked. I have 15.
How do you keep a person? Like, is she a partner now? I mean, how do you keep somebody with that skill set and talent?
I gave her 10%. I did.
She's got some equity in it.
Told her if we do another one, I'll put the money up. And she's got asked to be assistant DA in local counties and cities, and she just doesn't. She runs the show here. She has the office. This is my office. It's a private room that we're in where people could rent out. Wow. But I listen. I listen to my employees. I listen to her. I hear what they need and they want. We don't allow cell phones in the building, no Apple Watches, black pants, black shoes, black socks, black shirt, no loop earrings. So we charge an average dinner ticket at my place is $72.
Wow.
Okay. One 14-inch pizza can range from $25 to $29, but people pay for it. They pay for them. And it's not because the pizza's great. It's the ambiance. It's the staff. It's their how they talk to them.
Yeah.
So we do have our ups and downs where I'm always trying to be better and better, but we have like a 3% turnover ratio. We offer 401. We offer benefits. I ask everybody to write down as a server, what do you need to make a week? Tell me and we'll make it happen. We're only open Tuesday through Thursday, 4 to 8, Friday and Saturday, 4 to 9, and we're closed Sunday and Monday. And we average anywhere from 35 to 40,000 a week in sales.
Fantastic.
So I want. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, then you finish.
I don't believe I want to create a career for people. I grew up in New York, working 7 days a week, having no life, working Saturdays, Sundays, holidays. And I feel it's just me personally. If I'm going to have to open on a Sunday, then I want to be there. Like it's just something inside of me doesn't see it right for them to be here and me not. I'm not at that point in my life. So we're closed Sundays and Mondays.
Well, you've created a culture there, it sounds like, that people want to be a part of, and that's a big part of this new evolution for you, the growth, in the story that you have to tell. It's really going from somebody who did it the hard way and has learned a lot of life lessons. Love for you to see a book, put a book together of the life lessons that you've learned over this time.
I'm working on it.
Right. Good.
Yeah,
good.
I have a publishing company from the pizza book that's going to help me.
Excellent. Oh, excellent. And finding a great partner, finding the talent and keeping that talent, a woman like you were describing who brought a skill set and a talent that took you years to find somebody who could bring that to the table, and to keep her now and make her, give her a piece of the action. That's really good.
I think it's because you have to look in the mirror, whoever you are as an owner, and say, what am I good at? You can't be good and great at everything. And you got to swallow your pride and say, okay, you can, you got to learn how to delegate and find. Nick and Mike taught me that, talking to them, you have to find your circle. We hired a life coach for our staff. He comes in twice. Don't have to tell me whatever's going on outside in that world.
Yeah.
You're having mental problems, financial problems, or just life. He comes in, I pay for it, because I think it's important to have a place where people want to come to, but also that we're all human. Just because I own this place, I don't think I'm better than anybody else. And they don't need to think that I think that, and they're not better than anybody else. I always say, we don't have to like each other, but we will respect each other for those 4 hours. We don't have to sing Kumbaya, but if I have a pizza guy, I'll give you a quick 30-second story. I have some Spanish people that work for me, and they work so hard. And the other day I threw 15 pizzas out, literally, because they weren't up to the standard. So the girl that's been with me for 10 years goes, she's Spanish, and she goes, have you ever showed them the menu, the prices? She goes, maybe if they understand that they'll take a little more time, they might not work as fast. I said, you know what? You're right. I never sat down with them. I said, let's sit down tonight. You sit down and translate, because they don't speak English. So we sat down and said, listen, Joe would rather go a little slower so the quality is better. Look at these prices. Look how this is, because they came from Domino's, and they understood it. And I said, I just learned something. Instead of telling them something, show them, hey, this is what the customer's paying for. We want to give that experience with the food, with the server, with the whole thing. But we need you to slow down and make sure every pizza is like it should be.
Is that what you were referring to earlier when you said the Chick-fil-A model? Was that what you meant in terms of the culture, or when you compared yourself to Chick-fil-A? Is that what you meant? Not the food, but the sort of the management style and the culture?
Well, both, in the sense of I'm not going to bring spaghetti meatballs or lasagna here. What does Chick-fil-A do? Chicken.
Chicken. Yeah.
Do they do hamburgers? No, they don't do hamburgers.
So you're going to keep it focused on the thing you do best.
Pizza, but also culture. And Cameron, who is the GM, did a lot of digging and research, and Chick-fil-A took everything from the Peabody Hotel in Memphis. Okay, they're back. If you go to their back portal, however she did it, they grabbed the stuff everybody learns from somebody, but their whole culture comes from the Peabody. And that's what I want to have, this culture, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This culture to where, and don't get me wrong, I'm like on top of everything all the time, and I'm probably too nitpicky, and she'll probably tell you that. But yeah, I believe and feel that culture is the way to be. And I think myself and anybody that owns a place, you can't sit there and blame somebody and say, well, I don't have the money to train. Well, whose fault is that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't blame yourself. Oh, I don't have it, and then blame the server if they don't have 2 weeks of prior training, or the pizza guy, or the prep person. If you don't show them how to cut basil, Julianne style, like, how are you going to yell at them? If you don't have checklists in place, if you don't have all the stuff, you can't. You know what I mean? So I just feel that
But I think it's exciting that as you're describing all this, to know that this is not something that you just woke up and suddenly knew. You had to learn this over a long period of time. From the success came from a lot of failures and a lot of not knowing what not to do, and then listening to people and finding the right mentors and the right people that could work with you and to put a team together. And you've put a team together. So this is pretty exciting. It's like a 25-year sort of unfolding project that just you keep learning more and more. I think that's pretty cool, and a good, maybe a good place to end today's conversation, because we'll talk about it again in the future. But for people who are listening to know that it takes time and effort and applying what you've learned to make something like this happen.
Absolutely, it does. It takes a lot of time. You can't give up, and you just got to swallow your pride sometime. I mean, you know what I mean? Pick up the phone, call anybody, and be humble.
Well, Joe Carlucci, thank you so much for being with us today. The famous Joe and all the other Joe variations that you've been over the years. It's great to hear. And having met you like 25 years ago when you were the kid and we were in this movie and one of the lessons of that movie, for the people who will never get to see the movie that we were both in, called Pizza the Movie, is that one of the lessons was that there was a whole big scene of an explosion that took place because of arrogance and youth.
But Seiler told me, and you could reach out to Seiler, I don't know if this is true. I think he said it's on Apple TV.
Oh, really?
I don't. I'll have to confirm it.
I'll look for it. I'll look for it. Okay, I'm going to look for it because the people can watch it. But because you get to see Tony Gimignani in his youth almost come to blows with someone else, another competitor, and the people who were making them. I was standing next to the guys as they were filming this, and up until that point, they've been filming for months and months, and they even stayed at my house, and the whole time they're going, "We got all this great footage, but we don't know what this movie's about yet." And when that moment happened, I turned to them and I said, "I think you got your movie now." And it was a great movie, and it's great to kind of come full circle with you after all these years.
And I thank you again for having me.
All right, Joe. Well, congratulations on all you've achieved. Thank you, Cameron, for who helped set all this up for us today. Your GM, is she the one you were talking about, who was the one who'd been the lawyer before? Or
That's her.
Yes. So Cameron's a big part of this, and I'll look forward to. You're down. What's the closest city you're in? You're in you said Madison?
Huntsville. I'm like an hour and a half from Birmingham. If you're ever
so you're in the Huntsville, Birmingham, metropolitan area, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
And it's and the name of the pizzeria is
Valentina's Pizzeria and Wine Bar.
Valentina's Pizza and Wine Bar. Okay, guys. Thank you all for joining us today on Pizza Quest. Joe, thank you for being part of this, and we'll look forward to having you back on in the future.
Yes, sir. You have a great day.
Pizza Quest is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.